You're listening to Reality Derby, a Gold Derby podcast hosted by Marcus James Dixon and Denton Davidson.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to a very special episode of Reality Derby. We're going to talk about the Traitors finale. It is the day after. It's March 7th, 2025. And one word, Denton, to describe the finale. What would you think?
Underwhelming?
Mine is like, meh.
Yeah.
We're also going to be talking about Survivor Episode 2, Humble Traits, The Amazing Race Episode 1, Double the Stakes, Double the Eliminations, and The Masked Singer Episode 4, Voices of Olympus. And we have some interviews too. So Denton, who are we talking with this week?
We're talking with both the eliminated teams from Amazing Race, so we'll get to hear about their experience. And then we have Scheana Shay from The Masked Singer, who was revealed as Bat. So she talks about her experience there, her upcoming memoir that she has coming out in July. So plenty of topics to get into.
Okay, so why don't we start with the Traitors? We were both a little like you said, underwhelmed. Um, should we just start with the winners and kind of get it over with? It's the most winners they've ever had, four, which basically means they have to split 200,000. They each get about 50,000. This prize money is so low. It kind of embarrassing.
I mean, I would have to think that there's supplemental pay on the back end because they're also famous. So maybe, or so famous, they're celebrities, but I feel like they have like a booking fee that like a typical participant on a reality show wouldn't be getting. So maybe they can't go, gung ho with the prize money.
Maybe. And like, I love how you said so famous because I hadn't heard of any of these four before the show started. Like, everyone I was rooting for got voted out early. So, around the episode 7 or 8, I'm like, meh, do I really re care what's going on? I still did care, but the season could have ended totally differently, and it didn't. So we had Dolores from The Real Housewives, Dylan from Zac Efron's brother, Lord Ivor Mountbatten. He's the British aristocrat, and Gabby Windy from The Bachelor. They each win $51,075.
The house furniture won. And it was the most boring ending because like they all just were like, yes, let's all like kumbaya, trust each other. If I was a faithful, or even if I was a traitor, like no matter what, I would throw red into that fire because first of all, it proves you are faithful because what traitor is going to throw red and ask for another banishment to happen? And also,
Yeah.
like you want more money. I mean, these people were just so nice to each other. I thought for sure they were going to axe Dylan in the end. I mean,
Mhm.
and that's what I was kind of hoping for, is like one sort of villainous move. Then I maybe would have had a little more respect for Dolores. Like I just wanted her to do something, and they sort of were hinting at that, but
Yeah.
it didn't come to fruition. However, the hint that did come to fruition that me and you disagreed on last week was Brittany turning
Oh, don't
Danielle,
bring it up. Don't bring it up.
and she did, and that was hilarious. I thought it was a great game move and great for TV. And I think Brittany did the best with she could with what she had in the end. She brought a really good argument to the table to get rid of Dylan, but she just had the odds stacked up against her. And I was sad to see her go. She would have been kind of the only fun winner to see
Yeah.
in the game.
I think Brittany made a terrible move by voting out Danielle. Like if she had stuck to her guns, it would have been a tie. There would have been a chance. Maybe Danielle still would have gone home. Maybe it would be Ivor. But maybe she could have had two traitors in the final five, and then they would have had a much stronger chance of winning at least one, maybe both. So I think that was her death knell. Her worst move in the game was voting out her fellow traitor.
Yeah. I don't know. And from there on, I mean, the challenge was a total snooze. They're like dropping things off of a helicopter. Nobody cared. They just wanted it to get to the end. And then the end was just underwhelming. And then we did get a reunion at least. So the reunion was somewhat enjoyable. I wasn't in love with the reunion either, but it was fun to see them sort of hash things out. Brittany and Danielle go back and forth. Brittany was like, "You act like we've been friends for all these years. I've met you for like 3 hours in life before Ranger." Was like, "Get over it." So it was fun to see all of that play out.
I love speaking about the challenge, before the helicopter, they were racing to the fancy cars, and it was kind of but I'm literally sitting there like this is the last challenge. Like they just have to run to cars and drive the cars. But there was the moment when they had to like multiply how many people were in the game. And Gabby goes, I'm glad Brittany was doing that because I don't know anything about the periodic table. Oh my gosh, so funny. I'm glad she won. Like based on that comment,
I do like Gabby a lot. I mean, she was one of my favorite people on the show.
yes. So anything else about the Traitors finale? Alan Cumming, I think he's going to win another Emmy. He's just so good, everything he does.
I think it might have just the momentum from last year to continue at the Emmys because they sort of like to repeat things, but this season was definitely not as good as the last couple. I still think the season three one was probably the best.
Mm.
Because I think last year too, we by the end we were sort of like, it's not as good as it started. Like as soon as Fate
Yeah,
was gone, it sort of lo lost its luster. And this year, this season, that happened much sooner. I mean, it was basically when Rob went home, or
yeah.
maybe Carolyn gave us a little something until she left, but it was pretty early. Like so much personality left too soon.
Yeah, season two and season three had the same problem. When the big personalities left, it kind of got a little bit boring. My advice for future traders is don't go after traders at the round table because how many times did we hear this season that was trader on trader? They always figured it out every single time, especially when Rob's like, I know you're a trader 100%. It's like, no, you can't know that 100%. Like, no more trader on trader fighting. It just puts huge targets on yourselves. Be more quiet, like Suri was. Be more um, thinking in your head as opposed to blurting things out in your mouth. I think that's the way she won. And is she the best trader of all time? I mean, she's the only one that won.
I also think there was something about that season where like I kind of liked having regular people mixed in. I mean, you watch these seasons from the UK or Australia, they're great. And none of them are famous. Like, I don't know who any of those people are. You don't necessarily need the fame. And I think that sort of adds something because we didn't need Ivor or Sam. No, like, we could have just as well had more interesting personalities that just weren't at any level of fame. So I think
Mm.
maybe they could go back to sort of mixing it up a little bit.
Yeah. And we didn't talk about the seer. The fact that the traitor won the seer, Brittany, kind of ruined any sense of drama that could have come from that. Like, imagine if Ivor had won the Seer and he picked Brittany. Like, now all of a sudden he knows who one of the traitors is. I would have loved to see what would have happened there. But I hope they bring it back next year and try it again.
If you were the seer, wouldn't you just want to keep that person till the end? Because then
Yes.
like, I have to get rid of you. So, there's no point of banishing you at this point. Like, let me just make sure you're there in my sight.
Yeah. Are you saying like if Ivor had won the Seer and he picked Brittany, now he knows that she's a traitor, like bring her to the end and then
Bring her to the fire pit.
oh, that's a good point. Yeah. I wish at the end Alan Cumming had, he brings them around the fire and they're all celebrating. And he's like, "There's one thing you didn't know. Was Brittany a faithful or a traitor?" I wish he would have brought Brittany out and she could have told them. I mean, she's still there in that castle doing interviews, probably. They didn't film this like a week later. It was just an hour later. So I wish she had come herself and told them.
The other issue with this being on streaming is I had to pause it and do something quick, and I realized there was like 3 minutes left. I'm like, okay, well, I guess it's over. Like, there's
Yeah,
like I knew they weren't going to continue for another bag toss, so it's kind of you got to not push pause or look at the time when you're watching this live.
it's a good point. So that was the Trader season three. We have to wait a whole year for the new one. But I think you saw that there's a new British Traders, right?
There is. I don't know how long it's been out. It just sort of auto played after this one ended for me, and I was very excited. There's like a female priest on there who's gonna lie, and I mean it just looks fun. I love the UK version of the
Yeah.
Traitors.
Yeah, I watch all of them. Okay, so let's move over to Survivor 48, episode 2. One of my favorites of the season, Kevin, he is already gone. He's the guy that hurt his shoulder in episode 1. He went on the journey in episode 1, and he, I guess he was playing too hard, and his fellow tribe mates didn't want him anymore, especially it was Cedric. Um, Let me get there. I'm still learning everyone's names. Okay, Cedric, Justin, and Say. That's a very strong threesome. And when Kevin starts talking about getting Say out, the boys were like, "Well, we don't want to do that." So Kevin, bye bye.
It was unfortunate. I think this episode could have been titled TMI. Uh, it was what was it called?
Humble traits. Yeah.
Humble traits. I mean, these people were talking about extra nipples, and Kyle's wart and Chrissy's weird belly button. It was like, I mean, it was interesting, I guess, but
Yes.
a
It
little
was
TMI.
definitely something that could have been a deleted scene, but I mean Jeff's whole purpose now is to make Survivor fun. And that was really fun having them all laugh and share moments with each other. And Mitch talking about his speech impediment was really interesting, especially when Jeff asked him about that at the challenge. It was like one of those moments where it really just stays with you and it stands out.
I didn't
Uh,
like that, like, Vula lost again, though. I mean, I don't like it when tribes keep going back and back, and it sort of makes me wish they went back to two tribes,
oh,
like we discussed
100%.
earlier, because it just seems like one once a tribe is like has that bad streak of luck, it seems like they just have a really hard time getting out of it.
Yep. Especially because, Mary loses her vote at the challenge and there's only 5 people. And Say used her idol. She said, I'm using this for my grandma. And so then that means really only 3 vote. There were only 3 votes that mattered, and all 3 went against Kevin. So we need more people at tribal council, first of all, and then we need more votes cast. No more stealing people's votes or getting rid of people's votes, because it's more fun when Jeff is opening the votes and you're like, what's going to happen? Is it him or her? We knew within 10 seconds because it was 2 votes was all that he needed to open.
And there's not enough people to build different alliances to go after each other. It's like if you get three people, you're going to be sitting pretty. It's just they need to add more conflict to it, and I don't really understand the purpose of three tribes. Why not just have two bigger tribes?
No, it's fun for, to switch things up every once in a while, but 2 tribes is the better way to go. Also on the journey, Mitch won a block a vote. Thomas won a steal a vote. So we're gonna have more vote drama in the coming weeks. And also Thomas, he got hit in the eye at the challenge. And if you noticed at the end when it showed, next time on Survivor, it looked like it was like his whole eye was as purple as this cloak. It looked awful, and I hope he's okay.
Some of those things, like the smallest cut on a finger, like you never know what could actually take someone out of the game. Because if they get like even just some sort of little infection or anything, they have to go get medical help, then it's over for them. So you don't want to be injured, even if it's just a swollen eye, because you never know where that's going to lead.
Yeah. I also wanted to mention the balance beam. Cedric and Kevin could not do that balance beam. I would like to try it. Whenever I see people failing at a challenge, I'm like, put me in there. I want coach. I want to see how I can do.
You know, if you're going to go on a reality show, I mean, you should learn how to swim, first of all. And another thing you should do is practice a balance beam in your backyard. I mean, we've seen balance beams on Big Brother. It was just on Dondi this
Yeah,
week. I
it
mean,
was.
you have to walk a balance beam at some point. It's been on the challenge many times.
Mhm.
So learn how to swim and practice on a balance beam.
And learn how to make fire.
For Survivor specifically, yes, you have to learn how to make fire.
So goodbye, Kevin. One of my favorites. I hate when my favorites go home early. Okay, let's switch over to The Masked Singer. This was the Group B premiere, Voices of Olympus. And who did we lose this week?
Scheana Shay, who we're speaking to, Voices of Olympus was a very odd theme. Wasn't expecting that one, and I don't. totally know what it meant still, but Scheana Shay was the first to go home, and we have an interview with her where she sort of talks about her experience and how her daughter was dreaming of bats in some sort of creepy way. And then she also talks about the book she has coming out this July. So here's Scheana Shay. Welcome to Gold Derby. I'm here with a TV star we've all watched share her life on Vanderpump Rules, but she's also the artist formerly known as Bat on The Masked Singer, Scheana Shay. What made you step into that bat costume and sing for America?
Facing my fears. Honestly, bats are creatures I've always been a fan of. And the fact that I got to become one for the world was so fun, but absolutely terrifying. When I got the call, I was like, yeah, no, 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 no. They're calling me for the wrong show. I do not want to sign up for this. And after speaking to my team and my family, I was like, why am I saying no? Because I'm afraid that what I might get made fun of. I'm afraid to sing without a backing track or an auto tune mic. I am, but I'm in a year of my life where I want to face my fears. I want to say yes to more things. I don't want to miss out on opportunities because of fear. And I want to raise my daughter in that same way where if she falls, you get back up. If you're afraid to do something, as long as it's safe to do it. I want her to take chances, but safely take chances.
Well, speaking of your daughter, you had said she started having dreams about bats while you were there. Is she like a little psychic or like what's this family connection to bats?
It was so crazy. I mean, it was during Halloween. So around then we had just went and saw like the world's largest carved pumpkin. There was like a bat cave on it. It was like bats are everywhere around Halloween. And so I don't know if it was one of the movies or videos that she saw where she was just afraid of bats because she's certainly not afraid of the flying monkeys in Wicked or the Wizard of Oz. But she woke up one night, came in my room, was like, Mommy, I want to sleep in your bed. And I said, Did you have a bad dream? She goes, Yeah. And I said, About what? And she goes, About bats. And I'm like, What? It was just so, I'm like, How does she know? Like, she did not see anything about the show. I told her nothing. And last night she told me she is no longer afraid of bats.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, the panelists didn't know who the bat was. I mean, they thought you were Larsa Pippen, Lisa Rinna, Bethany Frankel. What were your thoughts when you were standing there listening to those names?
I mean, they were all incredible guesses. So I was honored to be compared to some iconic women. I was like, hell yeah, you think I'm them? That's awesome. And also, you want to stump the judges. And I felt like with the clues package and the little hints I gave in my banter after, we totally got them. And that was the fun part about it. I think if I made it through the next round with my package and everything, it might have been more obvious and they would have guessed me night two. But it was fun to just leave it a mystery until I took it off and to get that actual real reaction of shock.
Especially Jenny, because she sort of knows your lane, especially
Yeah.
like the Housewives and Vanderpump Rules and all those reality shows. But you said you spent a holiday with Nick, so you guys were doing a charity event together. What was that?
We were serving food at the LA Mission together on Easter. So we were literally like next to each other in the kitchen serving food to the homeless. And I just thought that was funny. It's like, no, we're not at our house, finding Easter eggs together. But I'm like, we did spend a holiday together. It was, doing good for the community. But I thought that would completely throw them off. And his reaction when they're like, well, how well do you know? And he's like, oh, we're about to find out. That was hilarious.
And you sang Espresso by Sabrina Carpenter. Great song choice, but
Thank
it
you.
landed you in the bottom. I have to say though, you did sound good. I mean, like, what is your singing experience? Is it for fun? Like, but I thought you sounded really good. The whole group was good.
Thanks. I mean, I just do this for fun. I enjoy performing. I enjoy writing music. Same as writing my book. It's something therapeutic for me. And it's just something I enjoy doing. I'm not trying to go out for a Grammy. I'm not the most trained vocalist. I'm well aware of that. I'm not trying to do this professionally. I'm just trying to have fun. And I don't care what people say anymore. I'm like, I've got my band of boys behind me and we're just having a good time.
And you do have a book, a memoir coming out in July. Is it July 20?
July 22nd. Yes.
And what can people expect on? I mean, you're still young, but it's a memoir, so it's your life so far.
I will be 40 when this book comes out. So not feeling so young, but it it covers so much literally from before I was born talking about how my parents met and it goes through every stage of my life up until a few months ago. So it's going to be a very current read. We talk about the ending of Vanderpump Rules. We spill some Vanderpump tea. We talk about both of my marriages, things that I've never told anyone about some of the things that happened in my marriage. And it's just my opportunity to be an open book, take the narrative back into my control. And I'm scared, but also very excited for it to just all be out there.
That is exciting, and you do have a narrative. I mean, you sort of addressed this on the show a little bit, how you've been villainized. What is the biggest misconception about you?
I think people who say I'm a bad friend and I'm not a girl's girl, I'm like, I actually am. I've been put on a show with, and in the beginning, women who weren't my friend at all. So you're going to see a different version of someone when they're around their genuine friends and when they're around three women who are trying to get them kicked off their show. So I feel like people saying I'm not a good friend, I'm not a girl's girl. It's like I actually am. And reading this book, I think people will have a better understanding of who I am. And that's my only goal with this book. If you still don't like me after you read the book, I don't care because you don't like me for me and not an edited version that you've seen.
And it's appropriately titled My Good Side. So we'll get to see that side of you. What did you take away from Vanderpump Rules and that experience? Like, what's the biggest life lesson from all of that?
To just always be myself and to be open, to not hold back, to not be afraid of what the audience is going to think, what people are going to think, and to just live my truth and to make decisions that I can stand by and that I can sleep at night with. That was my biggest thing. I'm like, people may not agree with everything I've done. I don't necessarily agree with everything I've done, but I'm doing the best I can. And we can only learn from our mistakes and grow. And I think I'm learning and growing every day. And hopefully one day I get it all right.
And it was fun to see you on The Masked Singer. We're looking forward to the book. What's next? Like, where can people see you?
Yeah, well, I'm here at my podcast studio right now, my podcast Shenanigans. There's new episodes every Friday. The book is out July 22nd. An EP will come out at some point this year. And you guys should tune in to the new season of The Valley.
All right, we love all of that. And Scheana, thanks so much for hanging out and talking about all of this and
Yeah.
The Masked Singer with us.
Yes.
Okay, so that was Scheana Shay, and I loved her as the Bat. I wish she had been on the show a little more. You know who else I love in this group is the Space Ranger, which the the judges, the panelists didn't seem to figure out who it was, but I knew almost immediately. I think I knew. It's Flavor Flav, right?
The whole internet knows. I mean, he was one of those clips that sometimes they'll play a performance before the episode even airs. So that was already on YouTube, and all the comments were immediately like, "It's Flava Flav." He even has a clock on his
Yeah.
belt. I mean, he's famous for wearing that big clock around his neck, and he just has this unmistakable tone to his voice, and even his like the way he speaks, even if it's distorted, you can just tell it's him. So, I mean, we're just gonna wait for Space Ranger to go home because everyone knows who that is, and the
Yeah.
other ones are a little more difficult. So we're working on our spoilers that we put up on Gold Derby, and we appreciate the comments because sometimes we can't figure it out, but there's always someone in the comments that's like, "It's this person, you idiot," and that helps us a lot because it allows us to go in a different direction.
I'm almost always wrong too. So if I say somebody is Neil Patrick Harris, it's probably not because I've been guessing him many, many times over the years. He just needs to do the show already so that we can get him out of our guessing banks.
Yeah. And I guess Pearl was Gretchen Wilson solely based on the fact by scrolling through every artist that has performed the national anthem at the World Series based on the clue.
Wow.
And her voice was the closest I could find to match up with Pearl. But I have no idea if that's who it is. So it's going to be fun to see how that transpires.
At least we know one, Flavor Flav. Do you think the panelists know who it is and they're just not saying it because it'll ruin the surprise? Because Nick Cannon 100% knows.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean they're not told in advance, but yes. I mean
They're faking.
They did this with Boys to Men. They were
Yeah.
trying to say anything they could. So I think there's definitely times where it's obvious and they just are playing dumb because they don't want to make it like it's so obvious after one singular performance, but it was clearly Flavor Flav.
Okay, so moving over to our last show we're going to cover today is The Amazing Race, season 37. I can't believe it's been going on that long. And we had the first ever fork in the road, which was basically like a detour, just renamed, and the 14 teams were split into two groups of seven. So seven did sing, seven did dance, and then there was a winner in each group, which is the part that's new, that they have two winners and they have a loser in each group. So two teams went home. Jackye and Lauren, they were at the very bottom from the very beginning, so there was really no question there about who would go home. And then Mark and Larry, who were kind of more in the middle of the group, but they just had bad luck at the end.
Yeah, I mean, it's always tough at the beginning of these races because, again, we're still sort of learning the teams and learning the personalities. So it's an unfortunate position to be one of those first two teams heading home. But you
Mhm.
talked to both of them, so we can show those interviews at least.
Yeah, so we'll talk to Mark and Larry first, and they were very funny in the interview. And at one point, they say, they were talking to Phil on the mat, and they tell me, where are all the fat people? They were looking around, like all of their competitors were super fit, in shape, and I think they kind of felt, you know, like the odd people out. And then we'll end with Jackye and Lauren, and these ladies are so fun on camera. It makes me sad that we only saw them in one episode. And I asked them at the end, like, is there any other shows you would want to do? And they definitely want to do the Traitors. Their bags are already packed. So Peacock, give them a call. All right. So here are our interviews with the Amazing Race cast-offs, and we'll see everybody next week. So Mark and Larry, best friends from Tennessee. Take me back to the very beginning when you first got the call to be on The Amazing Race. What was going through your minds?
Oh no, I got in shape. You apply knowing thousands and thousands of people apply. And when you get that phone call, like, hey, you're in the process of here, here, and here. And it got real quick. And it's an opportunity that not very many people get. So we took it very serious. So it was a great opportunity.
I think the going through the process, you jump as a applicant. You go through so many hoops, and you have so many tests and applications and interviews. They got to make sure we're not crazy. But there's so many things, so many people we talk to that every time, okay, we got another Zoom, and then when they finally say, we really don't have a Zoom, we're letting you know you're in. It's such an incredible feeling. It's like, oh my gosh, it's like a weight off your shoulders. It's like, wow, so now it just got real. Up until that Zoom, it's not real. It's just we're just going through one more step, and maybe next time, maybe we'll last long enough to make it. So when you see the floodgates flow when somebody finally gets that call, hey, you made it. It's like it's crazy. It gets to be where you don't think it's going to happen, and then it happens.
So, Larry, or am I supposed to call you handsome stranger?
Named after my dad.
Yeah. Larry, what was your favorite moment on the race?
Gosh. Getting off the airplane with the bus because it was a 14-hour flight. So that was, and just seeing how beautiful Hong Kong is. It's the cleanest place I've ever been in my life. I mean, there's not even a cigarette butt on the ground. And it was just I don't know, the cleanliness of it. It was just, I think that was it, just being somewhere that, you think of Hong Kong, and I always thought about a million people running around, cars and everything, but it's such a clean city, and that really surprised me. And I think that's probably one of the things I love the most about it. Mark and I talked earlier about it. We didn't want to be in such a rush that you didn't smell the roses, and so many people, I think, get so concentrated or that tunnel vision that they don't see the beauty around you. And that was it.
And Mark, at one point you called yourselves broke rednecks, which was so funny. What was it like for you to step foot in Hong Kong for the first time?
Oh, um, it was really neat, but I did get caught up in the moment. You got 13 other teams jockeying to, to outdo the other, and you get caught up in that moment. But we had times where we could look out and we could see Buddha up on the hill, to our right as we're going. I mean, it's just that little dude, the big dude, he's huge.
Yeah.
And just
And so were those steps going up to them.
but it ain't, to me, it's not so much the destination, but the people.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of good people there in Hong Kong, and that makes a place to me. No matter how beautiful the place is, if the people don't match it, it don't matter. And Hong Kong was really, really a good place, and really showed us appreciation that we were there, and that was really awesome.
Mm. So, Larry, two of the oldest teams went home last night, you guys plus Jackye and Lauren. Do you think this competition favors youth?
Of course. I mean, well, youth that are in shape, because, man, look at these teams. I mean, you got some unreal athletes this year, and I even asked Phil when I got on the pad, I go, where are all the fat people? We're competing, we're competing against like unbelievable people. And so, but dancing and singing, we said from the start, that's our Achilles. I mean, we were hoping you're shoveling a ditch or driving stick shifts, anything, driving tractors, shooting guns, bow and arrows, anything like that would have been really, top notch in, I believe. But the dancing and all, and the young guys are, you got a great crew this year, a cast.
And so to add to that, would it have paid if we could have got through that first leg? Because singing and dancing, we both agreed was going to be our stumbling block. They put it on the first leg. But if we could have gotten through that, if it gets down to navigating, if it gets down to driving random equipment, there's nothing that we can't do there. How many young guys or girls can really read a map? We cut our teeth on manual, reading a map, working off a compass, all the things before technology. You can't use a phone anymore. So that's how we lived the first half of our life before all that started coming into play. So heck no, it don't pay to be young. It pays to be older with a little experience.
I like that. My red flag, if I was ever on the race, would be eating. I would not be able to eat anything weird or unusual. I would just say pass.
Oh, we agreed Larry was going to eat all the weird stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I like eating. Yeah. Eating and drinking. Anything I can drink. So we've been okay there. So
yeah.
Let's talk about that, how slippery that bamboo tower looked, Mark, because it looked, I mean, the rain was coming down. How difficult was that?
Gosh, you had Pops, incredible. He didn't even, he's the old one. He didn't even use his legs. Touche for the older guy. And Mark, coming from his background, that dude shimmied up that thing. For me, I used as much footing as I could. You had to really pick your placement for your hands and your feet. It was a struggle. But a lot of that, I mean, it wasn't, it was just it was an obstacle. But I think it could be intimidating if you're scared of heights or you're scared you're going to fall. I think a lot of teams struggle with that. But it was just fun. Those are things give us something manual, and we could, we would have eaten it up, except dancing. That was manual. We didn't like.
I loved the pants. You had those yellow purple pants, and I'm curious, how quickly after the camera stopped rolling at the end did you guys remove those pants?
Wasn't even thinking about them. We were walking off. Like, whoa, come back! You got to take those off. You just get used to wearing them.
Yeah,
Um,
they're pretty light, so it wasn't too bad. So
So, Larry, at the end, you guys are running toward the mat, toward Phil. And how long do you think you were behind the other teams? It looked very close from the editing standpoint.
but between the black team, the yellow team, and us, probably 1 minute total.
Wow.
When
we
we were
could
driving
we
up in
could
a
see him.
taxi, they were getting out of their taxi, and they
We could
took
see
off.
him.
And our taxi wouldn't stop because there's a bus in between us. And if we could have gotten that same time, would have had it been even closer.
Wow. Because you never know watching it. Like sometimes you think, oh, this is just the editing making it look close, but it's,
Sure.
1 minute.
Yeah.
What do you think you could have done anything differently to make up that minute?
You could always do something. Monday morning quarterbacks. They could always do something different. But um, I don't know. Pay off the cab driver to go a little faster. Maybe go around things he shouldn't. I don't. You know. I. I mean, when it's that close, it's all honestly. A luck has a whole lot to do with it when it's that close. If you just miss the boat, you miss the boat. But we were all there.
And
Um,
I believe the yellow team left several minutes before we did after the dance, and we caught up to them. So our taxi actually helped us that way.
Hmm.
Where sometimes a taxi can kill you, But that time we actually, got caught up again. Instead of it being 5 minutes behind, we were literally seconds behind.
Hmm.
And when we got off the plane, I was running, and I had to stop fast. I messed up a tendon behind my knee,
Uh-oh.
and it started swelling on me, so I couldn't run like I should have been able to run. So that kind of hurt us too, right at the last 100 yards, because hey, if we could have gotten in that stairwell, oh man, we've been rugby players. We've been pushing them out. Anyway, but it was fun. Like I said, can't blame anybody but us.
And talk about that final meeting with Phil. It was very emotional. The tears were flowing. What did it mean to both of you? Larry, let's start with you first.
Well, I don't know if you realize it, but the year before we were alternates on the show. So we were actually involved the year before, and then the next year is when we made it. And so we had 2 years invested, invested in this. And, and you don't ever want to let your buddy down. And we've seen so much in life together, and we're more brothers and friends, easy as that. And I didn't want it to come to an end that close, and I would rather gotten beaten by 20 minutes, not by
Right.
literally 30 seconds. And it just hit me, and Mark's the crybaby, not me. But
hey, all the world saw.
yeah, whatever.
So we were quarantined for a week prior to the launch of the show. At the tail end of COVID, just everybody being sure everybody's healthy and clean, and it gave us time to go through the process so that we were educated. And so we spent a lot of time, just the two of us, sitting in a room together. And Larry made the comment that he was pretty sure I was going to be the one to cry first. So if you watch the episode again right then, as soon as he started crying, I said, "Yep, yeah, I knew you'd cry first." So we have,
He was
but I mean,
peachy. That's what it was. He was peachy.
we laugh, we cry together. We've seen a lot of really good things and really bad things together. Emotions are just part of life, and we try not to hide emotions. Let it out. Um,
But what's crazy is on my Facebook, so many people said, when you started crying, I started crying. I was like, wow. So it's I guess you realize at that time how serious it is to us. And hey, we hate to lose, but it was lots more than that at that time. So
and if you saw when he started crying, I had to give him a love butt. Something that the family does. Having kids and grandkids, they don't like you to show emotion in public. So I got all my grandsons and his grandsons, and we give love butts. So when we see them, we'll go up and butt them on the head, and that's our way of just reassurance.
Well, thank you guys so much for chatting with us today. It was such a pleasure watching you on the show, and best of luck with whatever happens next.
Hey, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Marcus.
Okay, Jackye and Lauren, sisters from Texas. I was just saying, I love that you're wearing purple, just like you did on the show. This is your color, right?
Yeah, at this point, I can't even see myself in anything but purple.
I love it. And it was so fun watching both of you on The Amazing Race. And I'm curious, what was it like for yourselves watching you on TV?
Surreal. It was like an out of body experience watching ourselves on television. Even though we knew the outcome, we knew we'd been there, we ran the race, it was still so surreal. It was like, whoa, is that us? We had to keep checking in with each other. Like, is that you? It's hard to explain, I guess, unless you've done it, because when you run the race, you're so present. Matter of fact, you just tune out everything. You're not even thinking about cameras or sound, or all you're thinking about is that ripping that clue, reading it, and doing the task at hand. So there were things that were broadcast we don't even remember
Wow.
having happened, said, or done
That
at all.
commercial though that we saw when I was like, "Come on, Lauren, you can do it!" Like when the first time we saw it, we were crumpled in the floor in the kitchen because I was like, "Oh my gosh, I remember that moment. I forgot about that moment. I remember her climbing. I didn't remember anything that I was doing, and, you know. So it was surreal, but then also inspiring because we did that thing. We did that because it was like 3 weeks later. She called me. She was like, "Jackye, did we get a Hong Kong?" We did. It's like, okay, I thought I dreamt that, you know? So
I loved how optimistic you both were. You tried to remain hopeful and compared yourselves to the tortoise and the hare. And, at the end, Lauren said that, this will go on her tombstone, being on The Amazing Race. Why did you love this experience so much?
Ooh. First of all, it's very few that get to have this experience. And I can't even explain how full it was. It dealt with sensory, it dealt with body, it dealt with beauty, it dealt with creativity, it dealt with countries. It was just everything you'd want, like mixed into a punch, and it's just like rolled out to you. And CBS did an amazing job of making this experience just something that, again, is a once in a lifetime journey. So that alone, set us up for just this experience that we just couldn't imagine having. And I don't know, just want to add to that.
I just feel like it is amazing. Part of it was just getting there and seeing yourself, like just seeing the fact that you did it, it's life changing. You'll never be the same. I went on a speaking tour in England and I was like, oh yeah, we'll just take the train and we can do the things and whatever. Like, have you been here before? It's like, no, but I'll be fine, And realizing that you can do that, it was just so empowering. And I think that's the other reason why it's like, yeah, I think it'll go on my tombstone too, where it's like, yeah, TAR 37 forever, because we're able to do that. We did that thing.
Right. And it's one thing to travel, but you just sometimes you want to push your limits. I always said, I want to find out the person I'll be on the other side of this journey when I'm left with no phones, limited cash, don't know where I'm going, don't know what we're doing,
Can't read the language.
Right.
Can't control the language.
Right. All of those things. How will we
respond?
Exactly. And to do it within a relationship, to where you have to work together. That is the ultimate journey. That is the ultimate game. That is like, wow, for some, where else can you get that experience? So yes, we had an amazing time.
And while you were speaking just now, I thought, TAR 37, that would look good on a tattoo.
I know.
We talked about getting tattoos.
What do you think about that? It's that TAR that we've got calligraphy, or do we get like that?
Yeah, get matching tattoos.
We talked about that before we even left Hong Kong.
Okay, so Jackye, I want to talk about your conquering your fear of going down the steps after you visited the enormous Buddha statue. Tell me about what was going on in your head and the emotions of that moment.
Well, like one of the things that I think we all have things in life that maybe we're afraid of, but we don't think about it because it never comes up. Right? Like, oh, that's not going to happen. And we watched every single episode of The Amazing Race, and we never, except for last
season 36,
season, right? We never seen steps. We've seen stairs like inside and going like in a lighthouse or going to something, but not outside in such a way like this, not like that. And so that was scary. None of it was scary. And my biggest fear was really it being wet and doing those things. So I was like, what are the odds of that? Not going to worry about it. And the first stairs were actually back in LA, where we just knew we were going to rappel off that building. And I don't have a fear of heights. So I was like, okay. And then I was like, stairs.
Right.
No freaking
Right out the
way. And I knew, because I have the stairs thing, they're not normal stairs, right? So you have to, I was like, now I'm going to have to hold the guardrail and go down. And so then as soon as we were done, when we got in the car, you don't see me going, whoo, we got those stairs out of the way, huh?
Right.
So, and looking back, I'm glad to see that I wasn't completely irrational, but there were a lot of stairs.
There were.
Really getting through it together, right? It was being able to do it. And in fact, just last week, I was wanting to call my sister. I was going down at a basketball game. I was holding the popcorn and I was like, you'd be so proud of me, right? Like, look at me. I could go downstairs with popcorn. Nobody else was celebrating me for doing that for some reason. But it was just, I felt stronger. I know that there's people that are looking at it from home that are like, oh, it's so dumb to get on the race if you don't like stairs. Well, no, I'm not afraid of steps. You can't control those things, but
Right.
life is like that, right? So often we try to control everything, and life just isn't like that. And so it's kind of helped me learn to, just embrace the thing and do the thing. And so now I'm fearless. So whenever anybody want to go race me on stairs, I'm your girl.
Hit me up,
Let's
bro.
do it. Good. So Lauren, tell me about that hero moment you had climbing the bamboo tower, retrieving the clue. Everyone on the ground was clapping. I think every viewer watching was also clapping for you.
That was real, again, a surreal moment, because when I'm in it, I didn't hear anything. I didn't see anything. I was just focused on that envelope up at the top. Every once in a while, I would get she would pierce through the air, go, sissy. I could hear her encouragement. All I knew was I felt, it's funny. She felt like on the stair situation, she was letting me down. I felt like if I didn't get that envelope, I was going to be letting her down. And everything was relying on getting that clue. And I don't know. Again, I shifted into a whole nother gear mentally. And those are the moments I'm talking about, like, who could I be? And I had to find that person that could climb up there and get that envelope. And when she showed up, baby, there was no turning back. And I felt it. I felt the shift, when I knew I'm going to get it. And when I got up there and got it, it was just such a cathartic moment. It was everything. It was the reason why we were running. It was all the training we had done. It was, the reason we were there. It was don't ever give up. It was push through. It was leaving a lesson and a legacy for my grandchildren. And it was so much involved in just grabbing that clue, more than just getting the clue and moving on to the next step. So there was a scream that I heard come from me that I got to see on the television. Those are the moments I've said, I don't remember. Like I just blanked out, and coming down, I don't remember any of that. I just remember the rain. It was pouring rain.
Yeah.
I couldn't see, and I don't know if you've ever tried to climb bamboo in pouring down rain in Hong Kong.
I don't think so.
It's tough. Turns out.
Turns out it's a little tough. So I was very proud of myself as well, that I just didn't give up, because there was a moment I said, I did not want Phil. Phil would usually come out on the race if someone couldn't fulfill a challenge. I said, I don't care if we're here till midnight. I am not letting Phil come out here to get me. So, so it was locked and it was an incredible moment. Incredible moment.
Let's talk about the big twist, the fork in the road. You both arrived, and I think you were the last one, so you did not get to choose. But if you had a choice, would you have done sing or dance? What do you think?
I think when I watched it on TV, it made me think, oh, that dancing would have been fun. But I think we would have chosen singing. I would have chosen singing. I just love singing, not because I'm good at it by any stretch, but I just love doing it. So it's like, yeah. Now, if I would have known what we were singing and how we were singing, I would have been like, yeah, maybe it's yacht rock. It was not. Michael McDonald, it was not.
Yeah, Cantonese opera. I don't think you can prepare for something like that.
And you lost so much at home by not getting to hear our actual voices. And I'm sorry. You'll just have to wait for the next time I'm at the opera.
That was the experience of a lifetime. We had to do several tries. And again, we had no visibility to the other teams and their experience in fulfilling those tasks, either one. That was the first time we saw the dance, what it was, what it looked like. And then our cohorts in the sing part. And it was great to see that everybody else had to still go back and practice again and come back.
Right.
You don't know. We thought maybe they nailed it,
Right,
first time around. We had to do like 5 times. And that was something else. But so when she gave us that clue, it was so wonderful. Again, that feeling of yes.
And the makeup and the headgear, did you get to keep that headgear?
No, we tried
No.
though.
But when we
We
left,
fully tried.
left there, the next was to run to the mat. We wore the headgear and the makeup. As you see, we showed up on the map.
Yeah.
With that.
We
Yeah.
had to get a cab in that.
In that.
Like, you already saw it was difficult getting cabs, and we were like, hello. And I'm sitting there like, what are y'all doing right now?
So the final question before we go, if another show wants you, Survivor, Big Brother, The Traitors, would you be game to do another competition series?
Listen, I would be so good at Traitors. They would have no idea. They would have
Ooh.
no idea what hit them.
We're ready to go. We're packed.
Yeah, we'll go right now. Is that why you're here?
Is that what you call it? Are we going on Big Brother?
Come on, Marcus.
What?
Hey.
I just know I need you on my TV screens again. I need to see you on another show. We need to make this happen.
Oh,
Put in a good word.
Well, Jackye and Lauren, thank you so much for chatting with us, and best of luck for whatever comes next.
Thank you. Same to you.
Appreciate it.
Same to you. Thank you.